The first cars begin to roll as the NASCAR Busch Series continues to move west for a historical weekend here in Phoenix, Arizona. As Speed Channel presents live Busch Pole qualifying for tonight's Bashas Supermarkets 250. And John Wood, the first car on the racetrack for Busch Pole qualifying here on the 1 mile. And a lot of firsts this weekend. The first night race, first 1 mile racetrack. And we can just go on and on and on, Larry Mack.
A lot of firsts. But I know I would not want to be the first car out because these guys practiced late yesterday afternoon. This track has sat there all day long with the oil bleeding out of it. If that's not enough to go with it, we had a Western race last night that runs a little different tire, puts a little different rubber down. Trust me, all eyes will be watching these first couple of cars like John Wood, the 47, Johnny Sauter, the 1, to see if these guys what the characteristics of the car is.
And Jeff, that's something that we normally fight when we go to New Hampshire, when you've got the modifieds and Busch North cars running on the same weekend as the Nextel Cup Series.
Yeah, you do, Matt. But looking at John Wood's car, it looks like his car is looking pretty good. He's able to hold it right down there on the, you normally say the white line, but the yellow line here at Phoenix. But guys, to me, when you take a look at this racetrack, one man I want to see how he deals with this racetrack is coming up pretty soon, and that's Greg Biffle. I believe with his experience here, plus the fact when he comes in here to Phoenix, he's on a roll like never before because he won last week at Texas. He finished second in the Busch race on Saturday. So I think if anybody can tell us how quick this racetrack's going to be, it'll be Greg Biffle.
Well, as John Woods, his second lap is the fastest, a lap of 27.893 seconds. Hello, everyone. Matt Yoakum alongside Larry McReynolds and Jeff Hammond. And, you know, Larry, you've already touched on the fact that the track conditions could throw a wrench in the mix, but we're also at an impound race. And how does that mix up the equation?
Well, these guys, they had 2 practice sessions yesterday, and there was a lot of scrambling going on during those practice sessions. A lot of cars that are locked into the show, top 30 and owner points, they were working on those race setups. Really didn't even make qualifying runs. Then you have the other 15 cars. We have 45 cars here that they were trying to balance between those race runs and qualifying runs. But the good news for the other 44 cars that's here, John Wood actually picked up from what he ran in practice yesterday.
So is the Biff the man to beat, though? He was one of the fastest cars in final practice.
I think you've got to look at him when something like that occurs because Greg Biffle is so talented. And the one thing that's so impressive about Greg is when he gets behind the wheel of that race car, he's always given 110%. He's up on the wheel, really getting after it. And, guys, here's Johnny Sauter. He's second guy out right now, and that's a brand-new race car, Larry McReynolds.
And one thing, Larry Mack, to further add on what you were talking about, 2 cars have been excused. Now, 2 of those cars would have been right up at the front of the pack. The 5 car of Kyle Busch.
Actually, Boston Reed's in the 5 car, and then Casey Kane in the 6 car. And I would say, if I drew one of those low numbers, I maybe would find something with my race car too, where I could go a little later in the session till we see what this track's like.
And Johnny Sauter on his second lap. Let's see if he picks it up from his first. And his crew chief, which we'll touch on later, Joe Shear.
Another pretty good pickup there, guys.
About a half a second.
About a half a second. That's what we've seen in the first 2 cars that have gone out. And realizing that most of these teams were talking about going out on brand new tires. So getting the tires, warmed up enough to make them have grip is pretty important.
Found last week with a illegal carburetor. His crew chief suspended for 4 races. Now they have appealed that. We should know more next week, as the 21 guys are waiting to go out as well. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Busch Series qualifying from the Phoenix International Raceway is brought to you by John Deere Gator Utility Vehicles and Buck ATVs. Pick a direction and go. And by Mitchum, with all you all the way. And Michelle Jourdain Jr. on the racetrack. David Gilliland, second-generation driver, already completed his 2 laps. He is currently 3rd.
Now, he's the first go or go home car that went out and qualified. The magic number with 45 cars here, 30 locked in, is 2. If you can beat 2 of those go or go home cars, you know you will race later on tonight.
And Jourdain's lap faster on the second, picks it up by about 0.4 of a second. Dick Bergeron.
With Casey Kane, who last weekend won at Texas, and yesterday he won happy hour as well, fastest man here. But you've been excused from qualifying where you were supposed to. What's going on with your car?
Well, we're just waiting for him to get out here. Our Ragu Dodge Charger is pretty good. Just had some problems yesterday and today, just getting it ready.
What sorts of problems?
Things I don't really know, just little things that they're working on to try to get the car better. It's got a few small problems, just the way it was built, and they're working on it, trying to get it so it's a safer race car.
Okay, we wish you well. Thanks.
And you notice that Casey has on his Nextel Cup uniform, and Dr. Dirt, the Speedway Illustrated editor, Dick Berggren, has on a different hat today as well.
I was very proud of Dick Berggren's question, and I was very proud of the way Casey Kane danced around that question.
Absolutely.
Did you notice that too, Larry?
It was an excellent job.
Here's the guy I've been talking
I'm working
about.
on themes.
I hear you. Here's the guy that's going to be working on some things here in a minute.
He finished second at Texas, best finish of the 2005 season.
A little different look this weekend for him.
He was 7th quickest in the final practice last night at a 27.68. Now, he actually slows down on his first lap, but we've been seeing a lot of cars pick up that second lap. If he can pick a little over a 10th up, he'll knock Johnny Sauter off the top of the heap right now.
And this is one racetrack where if you're a teammate of the Biffs, you want to go, what do you have in your car? Because if you look at his record here at Phoenix, it is just remarkable.
Car looked a little more stable on his second lap, like it was down in the racetrack.
Yeah, and we saw some of that, but he doesn't. He actually slows down, Larry. I mean, it makes you wonder now, what has Greg Biffle got going on? Because I thought he was going to pick up quite a bit on his second lap.
Currently second. He lost about a 10th on his second lap. And when you look at his stats here at Phoenix, 1 victory, 3 top 5s, and he's the all-time lap leader here in the NASCAR Busch Series.
He's the first car that has actually slowed down from what he ran in practice last night.
Well, the defending series champion, Martin Truex Jr., won NASCAR Busch Series career start here 1 year ago, started 9th, struggled through bits and pieces of the day, then came back and was in the mirror of Kyle Busch, who was battling Martin for the championship. They finished 2nd and 3rd.
He was 10th quickest yesterday afternoon at a 27.78. Talked about Johnny Sauter with a brand new race car. This is a brand new race car, untested for Martin Truex Jr., the 8 car.
And Larry, we haven't talked a whole lot about Phoenix, the racetrack itself, but unlike a lot of tracks where normally the dog leg's on the front stretch, it's actually on the back stretch here, and you'll see the guys running somewhat of a unique line as they come up off of turn 2. They get out real close to the wall and almost cut across the corner of that dog leg entering turn 3.
Yeah, it's not a D-shaped racetrack. It just has a dog leg or a kink in the back.
A little kink in the back straightaway. Exactly right.
Jumps up to 2nd fastest on his first lap. We'll see if he picks that up. But Larry Mack, this is a team that really wants to get something started.
Well,
they won at Mexico, but things have not been the way they wanted.
I mean, that's been the highlight of their season, and who would ever believe? Remember, he's our reigning Busch Series champion, and he goes straight to the top of the charts, 27.65, barely beats Johnny Sauter. But I think these guys had such high expectations after winning that championship.
2 straight DNFs coming into Phoenix, and you look at the first 4 versus the last 4. Hasn't won, hasn't scored a top 10. Average finish 23rd. Back in Phoenix, back in 1995 in a Nextel Cup, then called Winston Cup, Derek Cope finished 2nd. He's currently 7th early on here in qualifying.
And I'm just not sure with him being one of the go or go home cars if that's going to be quick enough to get in the show. There you see air temperature 82 degrees. Right now, turns 1 and 2 has more sun on it than turns 3 and 4, but as you can see, very hot track temperature. Track is very slick, not a lot of grip right now.
And that's something that you and Darrell will follow tonight and tomorrow night as we transition from the afternoon into the early evening as the sun begins to set over around turns 1 and 2.
Well, and no one knows because no one has raced or even tested here at night. The anticipation is that it will just gain a lot of grip and the speeds will go up late in the race.
Now, if you're paying attention right there on the 59 car, Stacy Compton, we're seeing a little bit of steam coming out of the overflow. So they've got that car taped off solid right there at the base of the right side of the windshield. It's still blowing off a little bit of steam. So you got to believe he's getting pretty warm. And he drives her off in there pretty aggressively. And she slides it just a little bit in the middle of the corner as he tries to get her back around. He's 5th after his first lap. Let's see if he can pick it up on his second lap.
And he's another car that had actually, even with picking up on the second lap, has slowed down from yesterday, Jeff.
Picks it up, but he still stays in that 5th position, Stacy Compton.
Kind of confusing. to begin with. I thought the track was going to be a little bit quick because, you know, even though the track temperatures are up, they are actually cooler than what they were yesterday during practice. So a little bit surprised that some of these guys are not taking advantage of it.
He was 10th at Nashville earlier this year, his best finish in the 2005 season. As the 38 car goes around on the outside, that's Tyler Walker splitting the driving duties in the 38 car this year with Casey Kane, who was excused earlier, still waiting for his 6th car from the Evernham stable to make its way out onto the grid for its qualifying attempt. And it's an old Tommy Baldwin car, one that Ray Evernham said that they didn't completely rebuild it, but they tweaked it here and there and took it to the wind tunnel.
Yeah, this is the team that won Texas last week with Casey Kane, led by John Wolf, the crew chief. Got their first win of 2005. Now, Tyler Walker, we talk a lot about the different divisions that races here at Phoenix. He has 4 Silver Crown starts here at Phoenix.
And Jeff Hammond, look at the grill. Look at how much of the nose of that car is taped up.
Well, Matt, we keep talking about it. For a qualifying attempt here on a 1-mile racetrack, and you're trying to put down a pretty decent number to get you a good start position, you're going to block this car all the way up and hope that it doesn't upset the balance too much and take advantage of the speed it's going to give you by doing so. He bobbles just a little bit right there on the exit of turn 4. Let's see how it affects him.
First lap 28.26. He picks it up about a tenth. To 28.15, he goes to 6th quickest.
Now, Jeff, how much tape are they going to take off, because this is an impound race, before tonight's race?
If I'm the crew chief, I want to anticipate that, especially with the Dodge, you want to give yourself maybe just a little bit more air opening than normal, because their nose is a little bit more straight up down than the Chevrolets and Fords. As we watch Jamie Murray get ready to take his Rusty Wallace-owned Dodge out on the track to make his qualifying attempt. But you want to take off just enough and hope that the temperature here, because it's very dry air out here, that when it cools off, that you'll be able to run as much tape as you can, so you keep that front grip and take advantage of the aerodynamic benefits of having the tape.
Well, with these long, sweeping, flat corners, and these corners are essentially flat, yeah, the whole key is getting the car to turn all night long, especially on into a run as you burn fuel off and get laps on the tires. And obviously, the more tape you can put on that nose, the more it's going to keep that front end down in the ground.
And you could see how high he got on exit. Very close to the wall. We saw a few guys in final practice last night get a tire mark out there.
And the thing about it, Matt, a couple of years ago in 2003, they widened that turn over there by 12 feet. It went from 48 feet wide to 60 feet wide, so they have a lot more racetrack to work with over there. Right now, Jamie's 3rd quickest, first lap 27.78.
And again, he was a little bit higher than what I'd like to see the car off turn 2, and it looked like it bobbled just a little bit. It'll be interesting to see whether or not Jamie can pick it up on his 2nd lap, because, again, the car just don't look like it's in the racetrack to me, Larry. Like it's really up and dancing around right in the center where you really like to pick up the throttle. The car doesn't look like it's under him.
He actually slows down on that 2nd lap. The last time the Busch cars raced here in the fall, this is the man that went to victory lane.
He won 3 times in the 2004 season with 3 different car owners. And when you look at his career here at Phoenix, 34th, 33rd, and 38th, took a year off, then last year started 3rd, dominated much of the race, and took it back to victory lane.
And had a good run going at Texas last week, and the kill switch on the steering wheel, he hit it and did not know it.
Well, Fox, FX, and Speed's coverage of NASCAR continues later today with Nextel Cup qualifying here on Speed, followed by Busch Series racing on FX, 8:30 Eastern tonight. Then tomorrow, kick off your racing afternoon. NASCAR this morning at 6 p.m. Eastern, followed by on Fox, the Subway Fresh 500 at 7:30 Eastern with Myers and Hammond in the hotel, the whole gang here. And close out your night on Saturday night with NASCAR Victory Lane.
Larry, here's a guy that we got an opportunity to talk to yesterday. David Stremme driving the Navy car here for Fitz Bradshaw Racing. And he seemed to be pretty optimistic that he may have this racetrack figured out. He kind of compared it a lot to Milwaukee and a couple other places that he's raced. And he thinks that this track is going to kind of play into his hands with the setup they're going to bring out here tonight.
Yeah, he was 9th quickest in practice yesterday at a 27.73. He's already picked up from that practice run to a 27.69, makes him 3rd quickest right now. Still has a lap to go.
Entered Phoenix 12th in the championship point standings. 2 top 10 finishes in 2005.
Oh, we bobbled right there, Matt, right in the middle, getting into the corner.
And he's way up the racetrack.
Yeah, it went in and almost like it just took off on him, and he had to chase it up the racetrack.
Had an 8th at California. Let's see how much that cost him on the clock. Pretty much a flat lap. First lap mirrored the second. Picked it up ever so slightly. and he is third fastest at this juncture.
There's just such a fine line at this 1 mile flat racetrack, especially when it comes to qualifying, between overdriving and underdriving the race car. You don't want to leave anything on the table, but if you overdrive the entrance to the corner, it will kill that whole end of the racetrack.
It really will. I mean, the exit of these corners are huge because the way they sweep, the big sweeping corners we talk about. And Dick Berggren is caught up with somebody who is, I'd say pretty happy right now. Wouldn't you say, Dick?
Well, he should be. Martin Truex was 10th and 12th quick in yesterday's 2 practice sessions. Your crew, sir, worked their brains out on that hot rod. You happy with that qualifying run?
Yeah, real happy. I really thought it was going to be a lot slicker than it was this morning, especially on that rubber from last night. And my car was real good, just a little too free to go real fast, and real happy with it. Real happy with that lap. Hopefully it's top 8 or 10, and we can go out and win the race. I really think my car is really good, and look forward to tonight.
Nice to see that confidence. Good luck.
Casey Kahne's on the racetrack, just took the white flag.
Oh, first lap, top of the board, man.
Jumps it up to first. Lap of 27.624 seconds.
But he was fastest in practice yesterday afternoon, so you got to believe that, hey, he should be able to back that up.
And right now, he's actually about a 10th off what he ran in practice, but the biggest thing, they must have got the things fixed.
They must have got them things fixed. The little gremlins.
Whatever things that was.
Just stuff, man, you know.
Well, 2 years
when
ago,
the driver's not too sure, he wants to call it stuff.
there have been
27-25.
Wow.
He picked up 0.4 of a second on that second lap.
And if you look back to 2 years ago, now we've had 6 different pole winners here, and 2 years ago that was Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick joins us now. Are you going to be the guy that breaks the streak and become the first repeat pole winner here?
Oh, I don't know. That's a pretty good lap that he just put up. I was listening to you guys, and I was going to tell you that's probably not fast enough, but the second one was pretty good. So our Reese Chevrolet has been really good since we unloaded, and with the way that the rules are and the impound process, you never know what you're going to get in qualifying. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Now, for Delana Harvick and yourself, a big night last night as Bernie Lamar, driving your Busch Grand National West car, went to victory lane.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, Bernie driving our HPS Groniger Chevrolet. It was a really exciting race. All 3 of the guys racing for the win did a great job, and we were fortunate enough to come out on top. So it was fun to watch and fun to be a part of something like that, where all the guys haven't ever really been a part of a win, and a lot of new guys and things like that. So it was a neat race.
Now, he is part of the KHI team, so how are you going to bring him along? Will we see him in a truck or a Busch car later this year, Kev?
Right now, we're going to run 5, maybe 6 Grand National West races, and we're going to run 4 truck races, and he's going to run his full Southwest schedule. So he's going to race pretty much all the time, and should be a lot of fun to see him come up through the ranks.
Now, just to keep you posted, Kevin, the 20 car, Denny Hamlin, he jumped up with a lap of 27.50 seconds on his way in. He's up to second. So
he's
good luck.
One and done, though.
Yeah.
He only ran
Kevin,
one lap.
He only ran one lap, Kevin. So
I got some bad news for him. He probably should have run that second one.
Should have run
it would have
that
been
second
faster.
lap.
What we've seen, but Kevin, you have to be so proud not only of what you've accomplished this year, winning Busch races, winning Cup races, but the race team that you and Delana have built. You've won in the Busch Series with Tony at Daytona. You won at the Atlanta with the Truck Series team. You have to be so proud of what you've built there.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome to be a part of. We've won, as owner and drivers, we've won 5 races this year, so that's a pretty tall feat, and pretty proud of everybody at RCR with our Cup win and Busch win, and our own stuff at KHI is really neat to be a part of. So when you put something together yourself and see it all make sense, and everybody come together as a team and win races, it makes it a lot of fun. So it's not every day that you can experience things like that.
Now, David Green's on the racetrack. Now, Kevin, the guy who's driving your Busch car here this weekend, Tony Stewart, he's a little wounded, burned up a little bit last week at Texas. So have you talked to him much? How are the burns?
I called him Tuesday, and he doesn't ever answer his phone. I don't think he knows how to check his voicemail, but he says he's fine and just a little bit sore, and he wants to race the car. So you can't argue with somebody that has a lot of drive and determination like he does, and he'll do a great job. If he's only got one leg, he's going to do better than 90% of the people on the racetrack.
Well, I think that also mirrors your driving passion as well. Good luck in qualifying.
All right, guys, thanks.
And David Green's second lap, a little slower than the first by about 0.2 of a second. Good enough, though, for 9th fastest so far today.
And, Jeff, I think what David did, he had a pretty decent first lap. He tried to get a little more on that second lap, and it just did not stick.
Well, that was the one thing I was looking at even on Denny Hamlin's lap right there. And Kevin's right. Yeah, he probably would have liked to run that second lap, but it looked to me like the car bobbled getting down into turn 3, and he may have said, look, that was enough. I'm not going to take a chance, because I believe early in the season he tried to go for a second lap, and I think it got him in trouble one time. So maybe a smart move on his part.
Well, the 99 of Michael Waltrip's on the racetrack, but the fast man, if you're just joining us, the fastest guy here in Phoenix is with Dr. Dick Berggren.
And that would be Casey Kane, who just celebrated his 25th birthday. Obviously, older is faster. Was that lap as good as you had hoped for?
Yeah, I think it was pretty close to what we hoped for. You know, I was pretty loose in there, and car turned great through the center. Was good off. So we're happy with that for the regular Dodge Charger. And I just feel good to have such great engines. Our Evernham engine was awesome last week, probably the best engine I ever had in the Busch Series, and this one again today is pretty darn good. So it's nice to have those.
All right, they got great engines, but they do have some radio problems in that car. Hard for me to hear. Casey says hard for him to hear as well. Matt?
Michael Waltrip's first lap, 28.03 seconds.
It's about what he ran in practice yesterday, and he's one of those guys that's got to get in on time, so he needs to pick it up. Hey, well, he's already beat 2, but he needs a little bit more comfort. I think he'd like to see that car go just a little bit faster, so he wouldn't have to be sweating anything as we go toward the end of the day.
Started 12th last week at Texas, his best qualifying effort in 2005, and picks it up ever so slightly. Still 11th fastest.
Just to go back to Casey Kane now and this radio problem, the only thing NASCAR will let them do that I think would be an approved adjustment, unless it's something to do with Casey's helmet, is simply change the radio. If they have to get in there and start messing with the wires and all, could be unapproved adjustment.
Your Fast Five here in Phoenix: Kane, Hamlin, Truex, Sauter, and Stremme. Back in Phoenix, NASCAR Busch Series 24/7 on speed, Mondays, 9:30 Eastern. Shane Meal and a host of folks follow their trials and tribulations throughout the entire season, from qualifying to what they do at the shop. It's really an interesting show. Is the 49 car, Steve Grissom. He's currently 16th, Larry Mack.
Now, we have 2 past champions that are in the go or go home list. Steve Grissom in the 49 being one of them. Joe Nemechek in the 87. The other one, you see Stanton Barrett in the 36 car coming to take the green flag, a little loose over in turn 4. But right now, Michael Waltrip has been locked into the show right now.
Good lap right there by Stanton. He's currently quickest right there, Larry. Car's pretty good.
Actually, he was coming off turn 4 when he wiggled there to complete his first lap. That is a good lap.
And Larry, interesting little note right there. He's actually driving a Pontiac this week. I think he's the only Pontiac in the field trying to make it in. Normally we've been seeing a lot of Chevrolets, Dodges, and just regular Fords. Not a lot of Pontiacs.
See if he can recover from that bobble down in 3 and 4. Picks it up about 1/10 of a second. He is 8th fastest at this point in time.
Good to see some color and a sponsor First Trust on that car this week.
And the highest qualified Pontiac. Let's go downstairs to Dick Berggren.
And it's also good to see a rookie do well. Denny Hamlin right now is 2nd on the boards, has never raced here, practiced with computer games. How much did that help you?
It helped a little bit. Definitely track time yesterday helped us out, and Cully put another great setup under us, and it really didn't have to work that hard to do it. We were a little loose that second lap, so I decided to just shut it down, but definitely got to give my condolences to Rodney Estes. He was my crew chief in late models, and he lost his wife this past week, so got to say hi to him, that him and his family are in our prayers, and just can't say enough for this Rockwell Automation Chevrolet. The team's doing great. It's just getting better every week.
Okay, thank you very much. Good luck tonight.
Eric McClure on the racetrack. Larry Mack, one thing I see there, I see confidence and poise for a young man his age.
But I sat and talked with him yesterday for about 10 or 15 minutes. Such a neat guy. You know, a year ago, he was basically racing late models, talking about Denny Hamlin up in the South Boston, Virginia area. He's having a great year, and he said, can you believe it? I'm tied for 5th in Busch Series points, but I'm 3rd in the rookie point battle because we have all those other young guys, Carl Edwards, Reed Sorensen, up there 1st and 2nd in points and leading the rookie battle.
Well, you got Carl Edwards, you got Reed Sorensen, you got Denny Hamlin, and don't forget John Wood back there in 4th place. We got 4 really, talented candidates right now that are making pretty strong runs, and all these guys are in the top 10 in the Busch Series points, so they can get the job done.
Eric McClure, 2 starts in 2005, at 34th at Nashville and 26th last week at Texas.
Now that will bump David Gilliland. Remember, we're bumping cars into the show. That will bump David Gilliland in the 54 car into the show. along with Michael Waltrip.
And check out the meeting around Casey Kane's helmet. You can see Trent Bruce, his crew chief.
And remember, they talked about having a radio problem. This is something they can work on that will not be unapproved. You see he has the radio in his left hand there.
Radio in his left hand, the helmet in the right. So when you're worried about it, what do, Larry? You change everything.
That you can.
That you can.
And a guy who kicked off the year in a big winning note was Tony Stewart, winning at Daytona, his first ever NASCAR Busch Series victory. Then finished second at Atlanta, and he's on the racetrack right now on the clock.
Now, he was second quickest in that final practice last night at a 27:59. He would have to pick up about 3.5 tenths, which Casey Kane, who's quickest right now, actually did in his qualifying run.
Well, I'll tell you what, Larry, he really fired her off down there in turn 3. It'd be interesting to see what it does when he gets back, because he looked good at getting off of turn 4. Hey, second quick again. And if he could, took a little slide for life right there in the middle of 1 and 2. I was going to say, if he could just pick up a little bit on his second lap, he's going to be tough, but I don't think it's going to happen this time.
Needs to pick up a little over a 10.
He has raced just about everything here in open wheel. Won his first ever Nextel Cup start here back in 1999 in his rookie season.
There's one thing about it, guys. It slid down there in 1 and 2. It slid up in 3 and 4, but he hasn't quit.
Last win came in a midget here a couple years ago. 3 midget and 1 Silver Crown USAC victories.
But he paid the price, as you mentioned, down there in turn 1 and 2, because he slowed down close to a half a second.
And to get back to Casey Kane's radio problems, and that's one of the issues when you have an impound race, that normally on race morning, a crew member, you walk through the garage so many times, sitting in the car with the driver's helmet on, and another crew member talking to him to make sure the radio communication is okay.
Yeah, we've had a lot of radio issues this year, and we can't blame the impound procedure, but it's one of the things that the teams are having to learn to deal with and to cope with.
Shane Meal on the racetrack, the 32 car. 2 races here. Best start is 10th.
He was 8th quickest in practice last night at a 27:70.
The Texas pole sitter gets a little wide.
This car has not raced this year that he's driving here. And they tested only at Richmond last week, right before Texas.
And I was going to say, Larry, I don't know what you think, but walking through the Busch garage here, there's a lot of new race cars here this weekend. A lot of these teams are getting new cars ready now. I think all that early on in the season when they were really running back from Las Vegas to Mexico. Whoa, another big slide.
And he's not going to be very happy with that first lap, 27.98, and I would certainly tend to say this one's going to be slow.
But Larry, that's okay. He's going to at least maybe bring it back home. That's the main thing, because otherwise he's got to go to a backup car or have to repair the damage to that car. Good job of saving it.
It sounded like when you hear Fred Aldis, the Emmy Award-winning audio guy, his audio, it sounded like he almost got the fence.
It was real close, real close.
And this team has really been on a tear. You look at the last 4 races for Shane Meal. 39th, 3rd, 12th, and 10th. And you can see how he has whittled his way up into the top 10 in the championship standings.
In most of those finishes, like even Bristol and Texas, finishing 12th and 10th, he had a much better race car than that. I think he ended up with a little problem there late in the race at Texas. But, Jeff, to go back to the new car deal, I think the reason, and Matt, that a lot of teams have brought new cars here, this is really, I know this is a 1-mile racetrack, but because it's flat, teams treat it like a short track. And this is the first time that the teams this year have been to this type of a racetrack. You know, yeah, we were at Bristol, but it's a high bank short track.
Kenny Wallace next up to qualify, the 22 car.
Always runs well here. Has 3 Busch starts here with 3 top 10 finishes.
Here's another team that I'm expecting to break out in pretty soon. Again, talk to their crew, and they've got such high hopes. I said Kenny's giving great feedback right now in the Stacker 2 Chevrolet Ford, and he is really just, I think, on the verge of getting a chance to go back to victory lane. And this weekend it may happen right here after the first lap. He's not quickest, but right here at Phoenix.
When you look at his season compared to last year, he was 12th in points last year after 8 races. Comes into Phoenix 4th in the championship standings, and he's jumped up 3 spots since Bristol.
It's just been nice, solid, not making a lot of noise. First lap 27.78. He picks it up at 10th to 27.68. That puts him 7th quickest right now.
So far, it's Dodge, followed by 3 Chevrolets, then 2 Dodges, and Kenny Wallace is the fastest Ford so far in qualifying today.
Would you look at that?
Hey, we got a really good car, boys. We got a really good car.
Now that's exactly
what did it do for you there? Was it pretty neutral?
No, just a little tight in 1 and 2, but the second lap I was better. Really good in 3 and 4. We're going to win. We're going to win the race. Just get the adjustments out of it. Let's go.
That is confidence.
Yes, it is. And you know what? As a crew chief, that's what those guys love to hear. That race team needed to hear that. You know, it's a package deal. Team has to pump the driver up. Driver has to pump the team up.
That right there has to be worth about 2,000 RPM on the human scale. To put those guys now at about 9,000 RPM going into this race. So confident, so excited.
They'll definitely be up on the chip. But again, that's what I was picking up yesterday when I was talking to all these team members, that Kenny and them are really starting to mesh together. And it's just a matter of time before they get an opportunity to go to victory lane. And but he's going to have to beat the likes of this guy right here, Kevin Harvick. He's always tough when it comes to getting the job done. He's 10th quick on his first lap.
Harvick won the pole back in 2003, started on the outside pole here in 2001. He's in this car swapping back and forth with Brandon Miller at RCR. A little bit of a bobble there.
Yeah, what he did, I think he, you know, you can run around the apron below that yellow line, but I think he got his left side wheels too low and it shot it up the racetrack, so I don't know that he'll pick up. Boy, does he ever pick up? And I mean, that was with that bobble in turn 3 and 4.
He jumps up to 4th fastest, picked up 3/10.
Which means he must have had to get through 1 and 2 really good.
Dick?
Well, this is Tony Stewart's helmet. Nice smiley face. This, by the way, is the mud on his tooth. Tony not only loves racing on dirt, he's awfully, awfully good on it. Looked like you were racing on dirt out there for a while. Got that thing a bit sideways.
Yeah, it was a little loose for qualifying, but when we pull the tape off, it's going to tighten up anyway, and we're going to run at night, so it'll tighten up a bunch. So hopefully that gives us a good indication. I was talking to Shane Meal, and he said his was tight. So if he's tight now, he's probably going to be real tight tonight. So pretty excited. I think our Mr. Clean Pro Series Auto Dry Car Wash car is going to be really good.
Well, he's won in 3 divisions here at Phoenix, and they say they were going to build an apartment for him. He's raced here so much of the time. We'll see if he can win in the Busch Series tonight.
He is
Thanks,
second
Tony.
quick so far in practice in qualifying here today. And the guy who is second in the championship standings, Reed Sorensen, joins us now.
How you doing?
So how's your weekend going so far?
Well, it's going pretty good so far. We were first in the first practice, and then in the second practice, we just made long runs on old tires. So I feel like we got a shot here, maybe at the pole, maybe at the win here. But well, I just listened to Kenny Wallace there. I guess we're all running for second if he's that confident. But you know what? We're just going to aim for a top 5, just like we do the past couple weeks, and we got 3rd last week. So we just have to see how our car is. And I agree with what Tony said. I think the cars are going to have to be loose right now to be fast later on.
Well, Reed, when you talk about that, you sound like a veteran speaking more than a rookie, because, using your head, racing for the big picture, making sure you get solid finishes right now, being in a position to win is always the key, no matter whether you run the Busch Series or the Nextel Cup level. So it sounds to me like you got a pretty good game plan working right now.
Yeah, we do. And this is the same car Jamie won with last year, so I got a little pressure to do good. But this competition is just awesome this year. And, you got people like Tony Stewart and Casey Kane out here, and they're at the top of the board right now. So they're tough, but we got something for them, I think. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Well, good luck in qualifying, Reed.
Thank you.
Reed Sorensen will try to be a driver to make it 7 straight different Busch pole winners here at Phoenix. But Curtis Davis jumped up there. He's 9th fastest. And we'll be back in a moment. Back in Phoenix, NASCAR Busch pole qualifying continues live here on Speed. A host of big-name drivers left to qualify. Joe Nemechek on the racetrack now in the 87 car. Best qualifying effort so far this year was last week. 14th. Finished 12th at Texas.
Now with that run right there on his first lap, 27.95, that will lock him in because he's beat more than 2 of the go-or-go-home cars. In fact, he jumps up to 9th quickest, but that will also lock Steve Grissom in because he'll get the past championship provisional should he need it.
Nemechek 9th fastest. That jumps Randy LaJoie out of the top 10. He's 11th fastest here in Phoenix. Moments ago, Jerry Robertson completed his 2 laps of qualifying, turning in the 20th fastest time in the 78 car.
That will lock him into the show, as well as Joe Nemechek, Curtis Davis, Michael Waltrip, David Gilliland, and Steve Grissom are all locked in.
The 5 car this week, Boston Reed behind the wheel of the Lowe's Chevrolet.
I'll tell you right now, he used up a lot of racetrack coming up off of turn 4. Just about got in the wall, guys, coming up here.
And I think the lap times somewhat shows that 28:08, 21st quickest.
You know, and they're Boston Reed, Blake Feast, they had Adrian Fernandez down in Mexico City. But if you're a crew chief and if you're racing here at Phoenix this weekend, there's one guy who's really busy, and that's Gil.
Gil Martin, crew chief for Clint Boyer. Gil,
hey guys,
how's it going, buddy? Are you wild-eyed yet?
Just about to get that way. My shoes are hot and going back and forth.
I guarantee you right now, it's not what you call right across the way when you have to go from the Cup Garage back to the Busch Series. But so far, just watching both the cars, you guys have got it going on. I mean, he looked really good in the Cup car, and you know he's always a threat in the Busch car. So you got to be pretty proud of that.
Oh, real proud of it. The AC Delco car is running good, and we came out here and tested last week with the Sylvania car, and we really had a good test. And as far as everything that we learned at the test, we've been able to apply it to this Busch car, and it's gone really well.
You know, Gil, there's a lot been said about the impound procedure this year, but I would have to say someone like yourself that's playing the double duty, that maybe the schedule like today is not too bad if you're going back and forth. Just the 2 qualifying sessions, the Busch race tonight.
No, it's really not, because we've got a good group of guys on both sides of the fence right now, and they've got the cars prepared good. And as far as the impound, it's having to qualify and take that qualifying setup that we used to have to do. This is a lot easier just staying in race trim.
Well, Gil, the 60 car, Carl Edwards on the racetrack now, and the 5 of Boston Reed, he turned in the 21st fastest time.
Well, I mean, the track has been really slow as far as on sticker tires for us at the beginning of a deal. And
well, Clint, just look, I mean, Gil, look at the sheet. Clint and yourself are about the only ones I can see left that may have a shot at
Texas last week. We had a good car and had to come from behind, so we just need a good solid top 10 right here and we'll be good.
Well, good luck in qualifying, Gil. Good luck tonight and the rest of the weekend.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Carl Edwards jumped up the 3rd fastest in the 60 car, the championship's point leader coming into Phoenix.
Well, again, that should be some encouragement for guys like Clint Boyer, who right now, like I say, was 3rd quickest originally. I think he'd pick up enough for me to knock him off the pole.
And you can see the comparison between the top 2 drivers in points. And really, Carl Edwards has really turned it up. The last 4 time trial results this year, 2 poles and 2 third-place starts. In the NASCAR Busch Series as Elliott Sadler's on the racetrack in the 90 car.
And then Gil Martin, Clint Boyer, they're not that far behind those top 2. They're sitting back there 3rd in points, about 135 points behind leader Carl Edwards.
We got ourselves a pretty good little dogfight going with a lot of what I consider young talent up at the head of the pack.
So far, you got Casey Kane, who's fastest, followed by Tony Stewart, who's 2nd quick. Edwards, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. 6 through 10 is Martin Truex, Johnny Sauter, David Stremme, Kenny Wallace, and Joe Nemechek is 10th fastest.
Elliott Sadler winds up 23rd after his first lap, and he's another one of those guys who had to time his way in, and he's solidly done that right now. He'll be racing later on this evening in that number 90 car from Robert Yates Racing.
And tonight will be his 100th career NASCAR Busch Series start later on this evening.
His first lap was 28:13. That's about what he ran in practice yesterday. See if he can pick it up on his 2nd lap. He picks it up quite a bit. The 6th quickest, 27:58. Right now, he's the fastest of the go or go home.
Wow, that's almost 0.6 of a second. That's a huge pickup.
Started 19th last weekend at Texas, scoring his best finish this season, a 5th. He'll try to improve on that tonight. Big weekend of racing all across the Fox networks. The San Marino GP qualifying live tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Pacific. And I can guarantee you Kevin Harvick will be watching that. Huge F1 fan. And meanwhile, the 7 car, Scott Gaylord, 28th fastest on the bubble.
That will bump Eric McClure into the show, and Paul Menard out on the racetrack right now in the 11 car, 3rd quickest for Paul, Jeff.
Well, he's been running pretty good in practice. I mean, he showed some pretty fast times during that practice session, and I'm not really surprised right now. The DEI car, we've already seen his teammate go out early on, and he had a pretty good qualifying effort. You got to believe they've been sharing information since Martin Truex made his attempt early on.
3rd, let's see if he can better that lap of 27.41 seconds. And he does by about a 10th. jumps up to the outside pole, the 11 car, Paul Menard.
Car looked nice and in the racetrack, nice and flat across the front end, and looked like they've got it turning good.
Won a Southwest Series race here in 2002, and this year in qualifying, 4 races so far in 2005. Larry Mack, he has qualified in the top 11, so he continues that streak today.
Well, just looking at the weather right there, it actually looks like the track's cooling down just a little bit. About 15 or 20 cars ago, it was 105 degrees track temperature in 1 and 2 and 96 degrees, so actually cooling down just a little bit. Could be good news, Dick Berger, for Clint Boyer.
Well, the weather may be cooling down, but Carl Edwards definitely is not. He is 4th quick here. And I was listening to you on the radio, and there was something said about, woo, loose. How loose was it?
That was loose. I don't know even a way to relate that to something that was so loose in. I can't believe we ran as fast as we did. I mean, the car, the World Financial Group Ford is awesome, but that was crazy. I mean, that was Silver Crown loose right there. I haven't driven a midget. That's probably a whole nother level here, but that was wild. That was a lot of fun, and I just hope it holds up for the top 6 or 7. This place is fun.
You know what? Larry Mack and Jeff Hammond think that's going to be just perfect for tonight. You got the right setup.
Yeah, that's what Brad said, so we'll see.
All right, good luck tonight. Thanks.
And he mentioned a Silver Crown car, and this kid is just so talented. Got into a Silver Crown car for the first time, finished 9th here at Phoenix back in 2004.
And what we mean, just to explain that just a little bit, is right now these cars are on new tires. The air pressures are pumped up. They have the noses taped down. As we watched Justin Labonte, 20th quickest after his second lap in the 44 car, is when they untape the nose. That's going to take downforce off the front end. The front end's not going to grip, and it should balance the car out because cars always get tighter and tighter. The front end shoves more and more here as the race goes on.
Yeah, the one other part of that equation, when you say goes on and on, as you burn fuel off these race cars, it transfers weight to the front tires, and that nose weight again will make the car slide a little bit more. So a loose race car at this time of the day will probably be pretty balanced by the end of a run.
Talking about balance, though, how much tape do you think you'll take off if you're a crew chief for one of these cars?
Like we talked about a little bit earlier, I'm going to try to find myself a very comfortable area where I know the car won't run hot, as we watch Scott Legacy Jr. in the 40 car, normally driven by Sterling Martin, and he was a little bit loose right there in the middle of that corner, Matt, but you want to take off just enough to keep that car cool, but keep all the front downforce on it as you possibly can. And Larry, we haven't talked a lot about it. As he bobbles again, getting down in that corner, he drove it in too deep, and I think he's going to pay the price for it, but you want to always be considerate of the fact, even though it's a 1-mile racetrack, you use a lot of brakes getting in the corner, so you got to give those brakes some air also.
27th fastest for Legacy on his first lap. Let's see if he can recover enough in a second. He is not one of those go or go home cars, though. He has car owner points, so he will be in the race.
Yeah, I know as I walked through the garage area yesterday, Jeff, I saw a lot of cars I thought that had a lot of adequate brake opening, but there was a lot of cars in those long race runs. I thought they did not have enough brake opening to cool those brakes tonight for this 200-lap race.
And being the fact this is a night race, the first time here, there may be some guys who may make some mistakes, and it may come back to bite them. Too much tape on the nose, the cars may run hot. They may even lose their brakes during the course of this race if they haven't got enough tape off of the nose.
Scott Legacy Jr., second-generation driver. His father's raced in NASCAR before. He's currently 24th fastest here at Phoenix. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Busch Series qualifying from the Phoenix International Raceway is brought to you by Briggs & Stratton, the largest manufacturer of pressure washers in America. And while away, problems big time for Ryan Hemphill. Last week, he dropped out of the top 30 in car owner points, meaning it's a go or go home day today for him.
You could just see as he was in the throttle off turn 2, the car just broke loose with him and just came around. But yeah, the worst news even yet will be he will go home. He will not make this show.
But Larry, watching the car out there, he is actually going in. It looked like he was about a half a car width too high through middle of 1 and 2, which was going to make his exit even more of a higher than what it would normally be. And he got up there in that little bit of gray stuff, and around the back end came around right on him, right there.
Looked like he was maybe about a half a lane too high.
About half a lane.
Now that will be good news for Scott Gaylord in the 7 car, because this will bump him into the show. You're already well in the throttle back there, and you'll see the wheels cut to the right there. He knew he was loose and was just trying to save it, but it was too far gone.
Too far gone. And again, if you listen to the sound, he was trying to save it, but all of a sudden he hit the wall with quite a lick.
The 41st place finish last week at Texas carries over here. Bad luck for Ryan Hemphill. He will go home. Dick?
Wisconsin driver Paul Menard has had a great time here at Phoenix. Second quick in the first practice sessions. Second quick so far. What do we got for him tonight in the race?
Well, both sessions we were tight, so we made one little adjustment, and the qualifying run was pretty good. It's a little bit free, so I'm looking for pretty good things tonight. Menard's Pittsburgh Paint Chevy's it's pretty good. It's a brand new car. First time it was ever on the track was yesterday. Unloaded, ran to 70 right off the bat, and you know, Dan Stillman and all the boys back at the shop are doing a great job.
Did you talk to your teammate about adjustments at all, or did you do this on your own?
I found out what he ran for pressures. I didn't talk to Martin personally, but I found out what he ran for pressures, and we made a little adjustment from that, and hopefully he sticks in the top 5. I'm pretty confident about that.
How about the rest of it? Do you know what he runs for springs, what he runs for bar, and all that stuff? I mean, do you guys share that much?
Yeah, we share. We give each other complete setups after every session, basically, and you know, we drive the car a little bit differently. So what works for him doesn't necessarily work for me, but a lot of times we hit on the same stuff, and just is going good. You know, we looking forward to tonight. Night race is pretty cool.
It is indeed. We'll watch you tonight. Good luck tonight.
And of course, what he means in pressures is the air pressure that Martin Truex and Kevin Mannion ran in the 8 car.
Yeah, they went out earlier, and teamwork and communication a lot of times really helps you as far as things are concerned.
J.J. Yaley, he's run here a lot in Oakland.
Hey, look.
He may have a co-driver this weekend.
Flat Stanley. Flat Stanley's back. Greg Biffle had Flat Stanley a couple of years ago, and he disappeared, and J.J. has found Flat Stanley.
Now we know where he's been all this time, in Phoenix.
58, Brent Sherman on the racetrack. Now, do you know where Greg Biffle got that Flat Stanley from a few years ago?
Now, go ahead and tell us.
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s sister, Kelly, sent it to the Biff to pass it on. I believe it was some students, 4th or 5th grade out in Washington somewhere. And it was making its rounds through the NASCAR family.
It ran several races on the dash of Greg Biffle's car.
Hey, you looked at that season that Biffle had, I put it on the dash every week.
Brent Sherman in the 58 car, a go-or-go-home car. Good lap, 22nd quickest on his first lap, 27.96. He picks it up to 13th quickest, so he bumps himself into the show for tonight.
Best start so far in his 10 NASCAR Busch races, 18th at Memphis last fall.
Nice job, Brent. Nice job.
Better believe it. You will race tonight.
Well, so far, our Fast 5 here in Phoenix, Casey Kane, currently our pole sitter on the outside pole. Paul Menard, Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, the point leader, and rookie Denny Hamlin rounds out the top 5.
And right now, with 3 or 4 go-or-go-home cars left to qualify, which include this car right here, the 23 car of Mark Green. But as of right now, Ryan Hemphill and Derek Cope are not in the show yet.
If he qualifies, you can see a little bit of fluid coming out the overflow. If he qualifies, this will be his 5th race here at Phoenix.
This car was actually pretty quick in practice yesterday. He was up at the top of the charts for a long time in that second practice. He ended up 21st quickest. This is a car that Shauna Robinson normally drives. I think they were just trying to figure some things out, so they asked Mark Green, who is a veteran driver, to come over and drive this car. Give us some feedback on what this car is doing.
He's kind of like the fixer, Jeff.
Yeah, he is kind of like what I looked at, like guys like Dick Trickle for a while. When you're having some problems, you get you a veteran driver like a Mark Green or Dick Trickle to come in and help you evaluate your program. Right now, he's 25th fastest right now and will be in the show. So that's exactly what this team needed, so they get some feedback. They get their program better, so, you know, when Shauna comes back, they can give her better race cars and better opportunities.
Picks it up on the second lap, 27.91 seconds.
He does a great job, I think, under pressure, man. I think he's one of the better pressure drivers with a limited amount of opportunities in the course of a year to get the job done.
And I talked to this group just a little bit, and I want to make sure we make it clear. They're not trying to say Shauna Robinson cannot give them feedback, cannot drive the race car. That's not exactly nowhere near what these guys are trying to prove. They're just wanting, it's like getting a doctor's second opinion on someone. Give us some feedback, because we can't quite figure out what's wrong with our program.
Well, the 23 car is 21st fastest on the racetrack. The 41 car, Reed Sorensen, and he has been fast pretty much everywhere. 1 pole, Nashville, 5 top 10 starts this season, and he has finished as a first, third, and third in the last 3 races. And close that point deficit, Jeff. He is really closing from 125 to 76 markers.
And when we had him on headset earlier, and he was talking about the big picture, he's going to have a good solid run, get qualified, try to come in there with the top 5. So they're thinking big picture racing right now. Let's keep this leader in sight. We'll choose our moments when we can maybe go to victory lane, but if not, let's get those solid finishes so we can keep adding on the point total.
And Larry, you can see through his windshield, talking about the impound race, knowing that the sun will be setting tonight while the racing's going on. You can see the duct tape that they've applied to the inside left of that windshield to help block that sun.
And where it's going to be an issue is his first lap was 27.76, 15th quickest, and he actually slows down, is right in the apex of turn 4. That's where yesterday in practice it was such an issue, and you have to do things that you maybe can undo or will not affect you once we're finally racing under the lights at night.
Sorensen is 15th fastest. We're back. AJ Fike currently 30th fastest here on the mile in Phoenix. And tonight, NASCAR and FX returns with Busch Series Racing live from Phoenix. NASCAR's current and future stars meet on the same track and go door to door to see who will take the checkered flag. Tonight, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, only on FX.
First race under the lights in 2005.
Larry Mack, we have so many firsts. We could spend the next half hour.
I did that yesterday.
I know. But this is the first time today we've seen Ashton Lewis Jr. on the racetrack for qualifying.
He was 26 quickest in practice earlier at a 28.09, and we do need to mention that AJ Fike, he bumped himself into the show. We only have one additional car to go that's a go or go home, Jeffrey Bodine, so it'll be between Jeffrey Bodine and Derek Cope as to who stays and
Currently
who goes.
20th fastest for Ashton Lewis Jr.
Yeah, his best qualifying effort so far this year has been Bristol. He qualified 8th, but again, guys, that car looks pretty good, but it's still a little bit nervous right in the middle of the corners, like it's not really into the racetrack like he'd like for it to be.
Worst finish of this season came at Texas, a late race crash. He finished 32nd, but he actually gained 1 spot in the championship standings up to 5th.
He picked it up just a little bit on that second lap, but he didn't move himself up as far as his position right now. He still stays 20th.
But a lot like Kenny Wallace, just nice and solid all year long.
Yep.
Nice and quiet, not making a lot of noise, but hanging right up there in the thick of the points battle.
And if you're looking at the top 10 so far, 3 Dodges, 5 Chevrolets, and 2 Fords. As Jason Keller, Ashton Lewis Jr.'s teammates on the racetrack now. 6 races here at Phoenix, making his 7th career start. Best finish of 4th back in 2002.
I talked to Jason yesterday, and he said the biggest thing, this program was put together so late that they're still trying to build cars up. And remember, you know, what a heck of a schedule this series had those first 7 weeks all over the country, down in Mexico. He said we've just not got to the point where we can test just yet. The only place they've tested is Daytona. And also, Mr. Keller will celebrate a birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Jason.
35th right now, be 26 in the 35 car as far as his starting position. And Larry, you keep talking about new teams. I think the folks home need to understand that it takes a while for a new group to get together and be able to communicate, and for Jason to be able to tell these guys, this is the kind of race car I really would like to have because it gives me a certain kind of a feel. You start going through all this, and it just takes time. And the bad thing about NASCAR racing as a whole, they don't wait for anybody. They set the clock, and once it starts down in the season, they don't call any timeouts, and you got to be there when the bell rings.
Jason Keller batting .500 here at Phoenix, 3 top 10s and 6 starts, and he will be the only driver to make their 7th start. They will run all 7 races here at Phoenix.
Yeah, and with these teams racing in Texas last Saturday, they had to check in here on Wednesday afternoon. The trucks didn't even go home. They brought their Phoenix cars to Texas and swapped out.
Keller qualifies 20th. Let's see what Clint Boyer can do on the racetrack, taking over the Blue Deuce this year. Goes a little wide up off the corner.
And Jeff, I think you talked about this earlier. I think this probably is possibly the last car to have a shot at taking a shot at Casey Kane in the 6 car that's up on the Busch pole right now.
He has completed every lap this season, and he said going into the year, just wanted some consistency behind the wheel of the same car week in, week out, and it's showing in the championship standings. He's only 166 points behind first place leader Carl Edwards.
Probably won't be too happy with that qualifying lap there, 27.82. That's a couple of tenths off from what he ran yesterday, 19th quickest, and just a little bit later on speed, he'll be attempting to qualify for his very first Nextel Cup race in a Richard Childress car.
Second lap looks a lot better, though, Larry. I think he got back in the throttle back in the middle 3 and 4 better than he did the first time. He does pick it up a little bit. Still doesn't go where I think he wanted to, but he'll be 13th quickest after that run at a 27.71.
Attempting double duty here this weekend. He told me the last time he pulled double duty was at Lakeside Speedway, Missouri, his home track, a dirt late model and a dirt modified. 4 top 5 starts this season in Busch. NASCAR Nation on Speed Channel, on or off the track from the East Coast to the West Coast. The big names and the rising stars. These are the stories and the faces of NASCAR. Declare your citizenship. The NASCAR Nation, Monday through Thursday, exclusively on Speed Channel, 7 p.m. Ralph Shaheen and the gang.
Stuff you've never seen before, you can see on NASCAR Nation.
More stuff than you can ever imagine.
Cool show.
Well, guys, we've got a lot of things happening around here on the racetrack. Jeffrey Bodine has just made his way to the field. He'll be starting 30th, so he's solid in the field. And here's a guy who knows a little bit about this racetrack also, J.J. Yaley in the 18 car. His first lap, he is now 26th fastest, so it'll be interesting to see if he can pick it up just a little bit on his final lap.
Calls Arizona home.
So with that lap that Jeffrey Bodine laid down, we know who will not make this show. It will be Derek Cope in the 94 car, Ryan Hemphill in the 4, because with 2 cars to go, J.J. Yaley in the 18, Tim Fedewa in the 12, those cars are locked in.
Currently 26 fast. Fourth up to 4th.
Yeah.
Good pickup, half a second.
Man.
Great way to get it
done. Good job. Crew chief sounds a little surprised.
2 front row starts so far in 2005. Right now he's on the outside of row 2. Dick Berggren.
With Clint Boyer, who was really quick in practice, 3rd in happy hour yesterday. Not as fast today, though. And you said on the radio she's real loose. Is that by design?
Oh, no, I wasn't expecting that. It was real loose. It's loose getting in, just loose on the throttle. It was loose. AC Deco Chevrolet. It should race really good there, though. But how about that cowboy music up there? You only got 1 cowboy and, what, 3 or 4 non-cowboys, so that's probably interesting.
Yeah, that was all during the break. We had our entire announce team upstairs singing cowboy music. Boyer and I were almost on the ground here trying to escape.
Dick, you did not hear me singing. Let's just get this straight.
Too.
I did not sing.
It was David Allen Coe.
That's exactly right.
He sings both country and western.
That wasn't singing that you guys were doing. That sounded like a wounded cow to me.
That would be Busch Series karaoke. Tim Fedewa, now he's not a good singer, but he sure is a good chef on the racetrack. Sideways there.
Yeah, that first lap was not very good either. 34th quickest, 28.06 for Tim.
Made his 320th career start at Texas. He finished 16th. This team, it seems like they took a big jump up, Jeff Hammond, but they've kind of leveled off.
Yeah, I think they have leveled off a little bit. And Larry Mack, I was going to make a comment. I'm wondering right now if some of these drivers toward the end of this qualifying session, as Tim winds up 21st at the end of his second lap, a pretty good little pickup, as bad as that car looked coming for his second lap. But the deal is right now, I just wonder if they were trying a little too hard because of track conditions. But for the moment, Casey Kane and Paul Menard have got to be happy with their efforts so far.
But right now, all those crew chief, they're having to be good salesmen down there. They're saying, now look, I know it was loose qualifying, but you know it's going to be just right for the race. And people like Clint Boyer are saying, but wait a minute, not that loose.
Trust me, baby, trust me.
Out in the Arizona desert, a saguaro tree, cactus.
I was going to say, looks like a cactus to me.
Cacti.
And the Winfield fastest edge. The 6 car, Casey Kane, scoring his 4th NASCAR Busch Series pole, first of 2005. Keeps the streak alive. 7 races here at Phoenix, 7 different pole winners. Congratulations, Case. Congratulations, Casey, on the pole.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Matt. You know, it's a good run for us. Real excited to get our Unilever Foods Ragu Trust Choice Dodge on the pole, and it's pretty exciting. These guys did a great job.
Well, let me ask you a question there. You won last weekend at Texas. I mean, you've got to have a ton of confidence coming here because you've been running extremely well here lately. But to jump back here now in the 6 car, I mean, a totally different race car, and you put her on the pole here. I mean, it's looking pretty stout. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's a good race car. It's a good race team. They're you know, learning a lot together right now. And we just got Bruce Tripp, a new guy, you know, supporting this team as the crew chief on the 2 truck last year when we won both those races. And you know, still have Ray Evernham and Josh. They're helping, doing a good job up there. So these guys will do good. They're definitely learning together, and it's going to be a pretty good team. It just take a little bit of time.
All right, Casey, we know she was fast for 2 laps now, but did it have that feel with what few adjustments you guys can make for the race? Does it have that feel that it's going to turn good all night long?
Man, it felt like it should turn pretty good. So, I mean, that's key here is to turn good. And, you know, it's so many different setups when they're impound races. Last week at Texas, we qualified when it was so loose I could barely drive it. In qualifying, we go out and race really well. Today, it felt awesome, qualified good, and, you know, we may be able to race well today. So it's, you know, just different balances and things, and, you know, we'll see how today's is, but I think it should be pretty darn good.
Good luck later tonight, Casey.
All right, thanks a lot.
When you look at the top 5 in the qualifying standings, 3 of the top 4 are open-wheel standouts that have a lot of laps here at Phoenix, including one that's standing by with Dick Berggren.
And that would be J.J. Yaley. The last couple of times he came to Phoenix International Raceway with a midget, he won both. Right now we're standing amid all the Busch Series cars, which have been impounded. The crews have done their work. Well, you're fast for qualifying. Is the work good enough to get you fast in the race?
I sure hope so. You know, we were pretty good in race trim yesterday, and, you know, Jason Ratcliffe did an excellent job with the Vigoro Home Depot car. We were just a little bit loose yesterday, and he tightened it up a bunch today. It's a good thing. At first lap, the thing was really, really loose. I was trying to learn a little bit watching Tony Stewart qualify. He was sliding around quite a bit, too. So it's a good car. We're starting 4th. Just want to say hi to my wife back home. She's 6 weeks to go on her pregnancy, and I'm sure she's back home watching this.
Oh, boy, that sounds neat. Good luck to you tonight. Thanks. Matty?
He will start 4th later tonight. Casey Kane scores his first pole since Dover on the concrete last September 2004.
Now, this is how they impound the cars here, because remember, they race in about 3 hours, so they just pulled them behind pit wall. There's the 43 cars. The teams cannot touch them. In a couple of hours, probably NASCAR will let them go, adjust that tape on the nose we've been talking about, air pressure adjustments, a little bit of wedge, a little bit of track bar, but that's all they can do. This is the impound area for the Busch cars after qualifying.
This has got to be one of those moments when you think, as far as a crew chief's concerned, have I got all the I's dotted? They will have all the T's crossed, because we have no more time to work on this race car until they drop that green flag.
And that's why you saw Casey Kane's crew chief, Tripp Bruce, trying to work so feverishly on that radio, trying to get that radio problem fixed as they try for a win here tonight in Phoenix. Speed Channel's coverage of NASCAR Busch Series qualifying from the Phoenix International Raceway is brought to you by WinFuel, first ever multivitamin win, and by John Deere, Gator Utility Vehicles, and Buck ATVs. Pick a direction and go. And that's exactly what Casey Kane did. Picked his right line on the racetrack, scoring his first pole this season.
Well, I know when you look at that and you see Casey Kane up there starting first, he's got to be happy with the fact he was able to back up what he did in practice yesterday afternoon. He and the Ray Evernham group have got to be ecstatic about getting this pole position.
And Paul Menard hoping to capitalize on that great qualifying effort with a good finish. What they need, a good solid run tonight.
Martin Truex Jr., our current Busch Series champion there in row 5.
When you look down through there, you've got to think that Tony Stewart, Carl Edwards, Kevin Harvick, Elliott Sadler, I mean, you've got to believe those guys are going to be coming toward the front. So there'll be a lot of pressure being put on Casey Kane when they drop the green flag.
Jamie McMurray, last year's winner. He'll start 19th. You're looking at John Wood in row 13 alongside David Green.
2 cars I'd watched we saw on the page before this. I'd watched Greg Biffle back here in 20th position and Jamie McMurray back in 19th, because both those guys, they have won Busch races here. 6 Busch races at Phoenix, 6 different winners. Will it be 7 tonight?
I think so. I think we got a great opportunity right now with the field we have here right now to have another new winner here at Phoenix.
And a lot of unknowns going into tonight's race.
It's the 2 cars that failed to qualify. We watched Ryan Hemphill in the 4-car wreck coming off turn 2. And remember, before Texas, he was in the top 30 and only points, got knocked out after a poor finish, so he goes home along with Derek Cope in the 94 car.
You're looking at all those cars impounded. Now, what can you do if you're a crew chief sitting down with your driver going, okay, this is what it was during qualifying. How much tape do you pull off? What can you do to the car because you're very limited?
We're going to be able to make just a minor adjustment as far as the wedge is concerned, air pressure adjustment to the tires, and you talk about the tape. And that may be the crucial deal tonight, because if you don't take off enough, you're going to run hot. If you don't take enough off the brake ducts, you're going to use the brakes up. So a lot of key decisions to be made, but I think the guys that have really done their homework and have got great communication with their drivers, they will probably rise to the top. I look for, like I say, the 6, the 33, the 60 car. These guys who have the ability to talk to the crew chiefs and work things out, they'll be the ones you got to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you heard Kenny Wallace, who qualified 12th, tell Wes Ward, I've got a car that I can win the race with, and they already know what their adjustments are going to be. He said, go ahead and make our adjustments. They already had that game plan in place before qualifying.
You talk to so many drivers that pull double duty, they say so much information doesn't transfer over, but just the logging laps, getting into a rhythm. But tonight, and looking at tomorrow night as well, similar conditions is expected. That's got to be an advantage for the guys pulling double duty. They have an idea what they're going to expect.
Yeah, I think so. Those tendencies that this racetrack is going to go through tonight will carry over tomorrow. You may not make exactly the same changes, but if a driver can figure out, hey, the track did this, gave me this kind of a feel, that feel and those tendencies will be consistent tomorrow night.
And now there's a bunch of crew members running around with their big pit boxes as they're picking their pits for tonight. And if you're the pole sitter, Casey Kane, you know you're going to want to probably pit down the first stall or at the opening right before the kink going down into 1 and 2.
This is a very unique pit road, especially coming on the pit road over in turn 4. It goes the full length of the front straightaway, and you see right there, this is part of pit road here. There's actually the last pit box right there. That's not a bad pit spot right there.
You can win from just about anywhere here at Phoenix. And when you look at the weekend of racing, Fox, FX, and Speed's coverage of NASCAR continues later today with Nextel Cup qualifying here on Speed, followed by the Busch Series racing on FX. Tomorrow begins with NASCAR this morning, which is actually at 6 p.m. Eastern, on Speed, leading up to the Nextel Racing Subway Fresh 500 on Fox. And the NASCAR Victory Lane, JR and the boys wrap up the entire weekend of Speed. Our coverage of NASCAR continues all weekend long across the Fox Racing Networks. Casey Kane's on the pole, making it 7 straight different pole winners here at Phoenix. For Dr. Dick Bergman, Jeff Hammond, Larry McReynolds, I'm Matt Yoakum. Stay tuned. More NASCAR coming up on Speed.